your mic straight.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Public Works February meeting. City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chairwoman Burke.
Here.
Vice Chair Andrew Bowen.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Thank you. We have 2 consent items. Committee members, are there any consent agenda items you would like to have pulled?
Madam Chair, if there are none, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it has. We've had a motion and a second. Let us take a vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. It passes. City Clerk, would you please read general item number 1?
Item G1, request for a public hearing to consider Vogue Towers 2 LLC entering into a long-term lease agreement with the City of Winston-Salem for land located in Schaffner Park. Public hearing for March 2nd.
Thank you. We'll hear from Assistant City Manager Aaron King.
Easy there, Councilwoman.
I saw Pat look.
As you should. Well, good afternoon, Chair Burke and council members. This is a request of Vogue Towers LLC. This is an area over off Silas Creek Parkway, Yorkshire Road, in Schaffner Park that has had challenges in getting cell service to the surroundings. It's a heavy residential area, and there are challenges in finding sites to locate a cell tower in there to serve the area. So the city was approached by Vogue Towers LLC to gauge our interest in seeing if we had any excess space over in Schaffner Park where a tower could be located to serve some of the demand in this area. And so what you see on the screen there before you, outlined in yellow, essentially represents kind of what is before you today. So looking at Schaffner Park there on the east side of Silas Creek Parkway, what is shown in yellow is essentially the square end of that is a 60 by 60 area where the cell tower would be located. And we'd be looking at a 150-foot tall cell tower that would be a monopine. So that's a cell tower that's essentially disguised to look like a pine tree. You've probably seen those around. And then the yellow piece that connects back out to Yorkshire Road would be essentially the rights to access the tower site through the parkland. So that is what is before you today. What is Vogue Towers is offered is essentially a $1,000 for a year-long option to explore this, with an option for a second year at another $1,000 rate. If they were to move forward with the tower, they would pay the city $1,350 per month rent for that area moving forward, and that would be for a 5-year lease with 7 5-year options on top of it, so a total of 40 years if this was to move forward. For our purposes today, there's 2 kind of functions that council has. One is sort of approval of the lease terms, and then the second piece is this is city parkland. And so as we've kind of gone through recently, there is a process of when the city disposes of or long-term leases city parkland. And so the first step in that process is it goes to the Recreation and Parks Commission for their review, and that was done on November the 4th, and they recommended approval of this matter. The second step in that process is to go to the City County Planning Board for their review and discussion there. So that was done on December 5th, and they recommended approval to you as well. So we're here at committee today, really with those 2 items on the table for your consideration. And the last step in that process is to come for a public hearing in front of the full City Council, which would be basically slated for March 2nd to move forward. So that would be the last step in the process. So again, this would be for a 150-foot tall monopine there, kind of in that area shown in yellow. When we worked with the designer on this, we were trying to locate it in a place that did not interfere with the regular use of the city park. So it's hard to see on this image, but there are typically soccer fields laid out on this park. And so this was located basically south of the edge of those soccer fields. So you could still lay out the soccer fields the same way they are today, have the tower there, and then not interfere with the soccer fields as they would traditionally be used. I think that's the gist of it. I'm glad to answer any questions, and Tom Johnson, who is here with Vogue Towers LLC, is also here in case you have any questions of him.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
There we go. This is in the West Ward. I cannot speak to other wards, but in the West Ward, we have a number of dead zones. This town is a little hillier than maybe people think it is sometimes, but we certainly, I am supportive of this project because we do not need any dead zones. 90+% of all 911 calls are made from cell phones. I'm not going to take a survey, but I'd be surprised if there are not more than 2 or 3 people in this room that do not have that have a landline anymore. I know the park very well. There's somewhat of a service road already that from the S down, and there's some large boulders there that keep people from driving into the ditch. Those are pickleball courts and tennis ball courts and a nice play area that are used extensively. And the soccer fields do fit nicely in there. I think it's 2 soccer fields. So I am supportive of it. Don't like to give up parkland, but I will tell you, and I've got some other places that have dead zones, and they're literally, there's no unused land here. So you're going to probably have to put them in parks or places like that, or schools. I've got a terrible one. I don't know if anybody eats at Diamondback at College Village. That is a bad dead zone. So if you have a heart attack, don't have it there.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm supportive. This does back up to Forsyth Country Club. I have not heard anything from them either, nor do they get a veto here, even though I am a member. It is in that back corner. I will tell you, the golf course is probably 20 or 30 feet higher than that point. So I think it'll have minimal disruption. And you won't recognize it anyway because it just looks like a tall tree. So anyway, my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrew Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for adding the extra pictures that came out last week. I appreciate that. It may be in the report. Is there going to be any kind of fencing going around the pole that's kind of like a protective away from the community?
I'm locked out, yes. They're going to finish the compound in so that folks can't get in and interfere with the equipment in there. So yes, that will absolutely be in. That should be buffered with some plants and landscapes to keep so it's not an unattractive area for folks in the park.
Thank you very much. I look forward to the March 2nd public comment. So,
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes, I had a question about the boundaries for the park. Is it the creek bed, the boundaries for the park? Or is
It's larger than that, Councilmember Scipio. The Schaffner Park area, the boundaries of the park actually extend quite a bit further, I think, than that. And I can.
There's a map in our thing on, if you, we can call that up.
If you can give me 1 second here, I can find
of
that
the
out.
whole park?
The whole park.
I didn't see it.
It might be, I think I've got it here. So if we can go back to well,
No, they have the whole park.
There you go.
Okay, okay, goes all the way down there. Okay. So it really is not taking up a whole lot of the park, and I guess that part of the park is undeveloped. Nothing there, walking trails or anything like that?
the other issue, and it's tough to see on this map, Councilmember Scipio, is you've got a lot of floodplain that comes along the creek right there as well. So even the city's ability to do anything in that space would be limited anyway by the floodplain that basically runs through there for Silas Creek.
So this cell tower, would it serve all cell providers?
I'll let Mr. Johnson speak to that piece of it.
Thank you for the question. The initial tenant will be Verizon, but it will be open to all the other carriers to come on. And our experience is once we get the tower up, it's easy for them to come on and get on the tower.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're ready for a vote. Can I get a motion to approve G1?
Approval.
Second.
second.
Okay, we did get a motion and a second. Now it's time for a voice vote. All in favor, let us know by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. It passes. City Clerk, would you read G2?
Item G2, resolution authorizing a contract for design of the Brewer Road Sidewalk Project.
Okay, we'll hear from Mr. Jeff Fansler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee and City Council. Jeff Fansler, Director of Transportation. So the item before you is essentially the awarding of a design contract to AMT for the Brewer Road sidewalk. You've heard us talk at nausea about Brewer Road needs for sidewalk, and for many years we've been trying to secure funding for these projects. This project was submitted in prioritization for funding consideration, was funded through that process with a contributing local match. So we have done our work on the budget side to fund this project, and the item before you essentially is to award this contract for curb and gutter and sidewalk on the west side of Brewer Road from West Clemensville Road to the roundabout. One thing not shown on this map intentionally, because when we started really scoping this project with the consultant, what we found was there's just a small section there that connects to some existing sidewalk at Parkland. So let's just do right by this project and make that spur connection on there as well. So there's where Brewer Road makes that left-hand turn as you go northbound and goes towards Peters Creek Parkway. We do include a small section there to directly connect this to Parkland High School, which does then open up that access to this residential area directly to the school and some of the adjacent infrastructure there. So I'm happy to take any questions. This contract this approval of this would authorize just under $700,000 design contract, so a costly project. But again, some of those costs are associated with some extensive drainage needs, right-of-way impacts, et cetera, because this is a comprehensive sidewalk project that will include the closed drainage system. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fansler. Any questions? Councilmember Scipio.
Mr. Fansler, so I was going to ask, this does connect so the students can go from the roundabout, walk down to the school, and therefore it goes to the corner of Peters Creek Parkway? It connects to that point?
It doesn't go all the way to Peters Creek Parkway, and this is scope creep a little bit already. And so if you recall, we talked about the sidewalk needs in this area several months ago about, some issues around Parkland High School. We had indicated there's multiple phases of sidewalk infrastructure projects around Parkland High School. And the piece you're referring to is another phase, competing for future funding, which actually carries it across Peters Creek Parkway to South Park. So the project you're specifically referring to takes it from Parkland High School across Peters Creek to South Park.
This takes it down to the Parkland at this point?
That's correct.
And
yes,
then, okay.
That's correct. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Fansler, you have at least 2 graduates from Parkland High School sitting here, and there's been a lot of chatter around it. So we just want to say we appreciate you helping to get this project done. And Madam Chair, I wanted to make that comment. And just to get a motion on the floor, I move for approval of item G2.
Thank you. Just a minute. Councilmember Andrew Bowen has something to say, but thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be happy to second when we're done.
Okay.
We've had a lot of comment about this section of the city. Is there a timeline of when this stretch of sidewalk should either begin and hopefully be completed?
Well, you notice some dates in this item, right? This project has been funded for some time. You've heard me talk in the past, and this is complicated when we go through the federal funding process and requires some concurrence from the NCDOT, and that process took longer than normal. So we're a little bit slower in getting the project started, but I'm happy to say where we are today, this is a 9 or 10 month design window. From there, we do expect some complicated right-of-way acquisition phasing because some of these great issues out there. That could take another several months. And so to answer your question is we should be in construction in 2027, but probably in the summertime, not necessarily early 2027.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Joyner.
Thank you, Chair. This particular project is in the South Ward, and I will say that there are a lot of individuals that use that path without sidewalks, so they're walking in the road to either get to the grocery store down at the Food Lion or coming back up towards the pool during the summertime and Parkland for education. So I am definitely in support of, and I hope that the rest of those pieces can come online sooner than later, but something is better than nothing at this point. So thank you so much for your efforts, Jen.
Thank you, Mr. Fansler, and I do want to say I am a Parkland alum, and I am really happy about this sidewalk addition. This will make traveling, as Councilmember Joyner said, a lot safer for the students who go back and forth to school, and not only to school, but there are a lot of commercial businesses in this area that people have to walk to, and they've been doing it without a sidewalk. So this is a much-needed improvement. We already have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, we're ready for a vote. All in favor, please let us know by voice vote of aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, it passes. Thank you. City Clerk, would you please read General Item 3?
Item G3, consideration of items related to additional funding for the replacement of Bridge Number 296 on West First Street.
Okay, we'll hear from Mr. Michael Stover.
Good afternoon, Chair Burke, members of council. Thank you for having me. My name is Michael Stover, city engineer. It's probably my first time in front of you all, so thank you for having me. This bridge in question carries traffic on West First Street over the top of Norfolk Southern Railroad between Northwest Boulevard and Springdale Avenue. As you can tell, this project has been in the works for quite a while. A little over a year ago, project staff, they were evaluating the design and they realized there was a project deficit in the budget of about $3.7 million. About this time last year, there was an opportunity to request funding through the local Winston-Salem area TPO. We requested that budget deficit of $3.7 million and received the additional funding from the state for $2,971,000, which requires a 20% match by the city, which equates to about $742,000. Out of that 20% match, there's already about $320,000 available, and it's already been appropriated, leaving a deficit of $420,000. What this item essentially does is three things. It authorizes the city manager to execute a supplemental agreement with NCDOT. It appropriates the additional federal funding for this project, and it also allows for the transfer of the deficit for the 20% match. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions of Councilmember Clark?
Of the total 10.6 million, how much of that does the city pay?
20%,
Okay.
which would be a little over $2 million.
And let me say, if there's a bridge in town that needs replacing, it's this bridge. It looks like it's been in a war.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the guardrail that keeps you from falling off has got one of those barrier things. But I will tell you, that bridge is not that big, and 10.5 million, it is what it is, but that just is just amazing. But it needs to be done. It's terrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
I'm on it every day.
Councilmember Scipio?
What's our timetable once we get this action taken care of for that bridge replacement?
Great question. We're wrapping up design now. DOT has to they have to review the final design plans. We expect that to be done next 30, 45 days. We're going to let this project in the April or May timeframe. Then it'll come to the council for approval in June or July, I think. And there's roughly about a 12 to 18 month timeframe for construction.
Okay. Councilmember Andrew Bowen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will we close the entire bridge to complete it, or would they do one lane? What's the process there?
Closing the whole bridge, right? Yeah, the whole bridge will be closed.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're ready for a vote. Can I get a motion to approve G3?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We're ready for a voice vote. All in favor, let us know by saying aye. Aye. Unanimous, it passes. Well, that concludes our agenda for Public Works. And before we end it, we're going to hear from Assistant City Manager Aaron King to discuss this last winter storm that we've been dealing with. City Manager.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Chair Burke. So yes, it is nice to have some warmer temperatures today. That feels like a heat wave out there, and so that is very nice. Fortunately, we're, I think, past a lot of the dealing with and scraping the streets in Salton from the bad weather we've had for the last 2+ weeks. I know each of you have gotten a lot of concerns that have been raised to you, a lot of constituents reaching out. And we're going to go over this in probably a little bit more detail on Monday's presentation to City Council, so I won't spoil too much of it now, other than to say, one, your crews, especially your street crews, have been working around the clock essentially since this started. That first ice event was particularly difficult to deal with, and I think you got a lot of comments there that the city's not doing enough or you're not getting by street. And frankly, when you get 2 inches of ice and sub 25-degree temperatures for 17 hours a day, there's not much you're going to be able to do there. So in those days, our crews were only able to work about 6 hours a day to make any production. So in a traditional snow event, we worked 24 hours. It took us, 4 days to make up 1 day's worth of production. And so you can figure out why folks were feeling like we weren't getting to them and we weren't seeing them, because those conditions were just, there's frankly not much you can do with that. You can't plow ice, and salt's not working or really having any meaningful impact at those temperatures. So that was a little bit of kind of round one. And fortunately, things started to break free at the end of that week, and we were able to make some progress and really start to hit that, fortunately. And then round two came, and we got 8 inches of snow, and we were right back. And before we could get to all the folks in all the residential areas, we basically had to go back and duplicate our efforts on the majors and collectors and all the areas that we had cleaned previously to get done. So it was kind of rinse and repeat. Fortunately, the snow is a whole lot easier to get up than the ice is. So our crews really did an outstanding job of kind of sticking with this and showing a lot of resilience and perseverance in some less than ideal conditions out there. So all the credit goes to them for sticking with this. For you as council members, some things to think about. We have certainly learned some lessons from this that we're going to be working through and preparing kind of an after-action debrief to work through ways we can always try to sharpen the saw and get better for the next time around so that we can respond a little better for our residents. So that's kind of the phase that we're in right now, is really starting that process. Once we can kind of catch our breath, diving in to figure out those areas that we can improve in so we can come back to you with some recommendations to making sure we're performing the best we can for our residents. So I know one of the things that was mentioned was kind of an interactive map, so folks, almost like with leaf collection, where folks can kind of see where we've been and where we're going. We've got remnants of that, but it needs a little tuning up. That's kind of underway right now. I think that will help moving forward. Hopefully you found the briefings that Deb was sending out every day, the sit rep comments and reports helpful to you to let you know what's going on and kind of give you a cross-section of the activity that was going out there. So good relationship, good working with the media this time, getting information out on that. But there are some things we'll continue to kind of work forward and work to improve. I don't know if you have anything else.
Councilmember Scipio.
Thank you, Mr. King. I thought that was a great update. It was a once in 40-year occurrence, and people want us to still be excellent, and we do attempt that. At one point in time when I first came on the council, we didn't have enough equipment. We didn't have trucks working. I think we've purchased enough trucks. So my question is, do we have adequate equipment? And is this one of the departments that may be short-staffed that we need to fill, or were we operating at our capacity?
I think there's several layers to that, Councilor Scipio, and those are good questions. So we did purchase some dump trucks to come in, and those were replacements for existing assets. So we actually got those the week before the event happened, but we couldn't put them on the road because they've got to go through and get tags and title and everything else, and so they were not ready. But those dump trucks that we got were really replacements for what's there. So that's not an addition to, that's a replacement of. So our crews that were out there and the equipment, the dump trucks and the plows and everything out there, they were out there, and a lot of that equipment's got some age on it, hence the replacement for it. And when you're out there plowing and salting in those environments, it is very tough on the equipment. So what you get is you might start out with 20 trucks, and after shift one, you might be down to 15. And then you get some repaired, and then some come back in service, and then some others go out, and it's a constant cycle of that. This is why it is so important that we really stay on top of our replacement schedule so that we've got good, reliable equipment when times like this show up. We have to put those assets into service. I think from a staffing standpoint, Keith's department, TFO, has been probably, when Scott's shown you the information at budget time, they've been at the top of the list, somewhere in the 40-ish% vacancy range for a while. I want to say they're down to 25-ish%. So they've had a lot of those positions filled. Now, not every one of those folks has a CDL. We were able to call in some resources from other departments to kind of help plug some gaps. So I think we had a good amount of resources to throw at this storm. Is there opportunity for improvement and being able to expand our capacity? Yes, and that's what we're ultimately trying to get to from this. And I think some of those efforts are probably as we order new equipment when it comes up on the replacement schedule to make sure that what we're ordering has the ability to be upfit and used for plowing snow and salting and all those kinds of good things, so that if we need to, we can adapt it and get more assets off the yard.
So just one more follow-up question to that. Yesterday in our Public Safety Committee, we learned that the fire department, of course, they have a maintenance facility on Palmer Lane, but what happened with the ice and snow, the chains on the truck were tearing up on the newly plowed pavement, and so they had to be creative, and someone internally was able to do replacement chains because we couldn't buy them. So the question is, in our maintenance facility for Public Works, do we have a strong mechanical area that can repair these trucks as they get worn out on the road in these kinds of emergencies?
Yeah, we do, Councilmember Scipio. I will tell you, our fleet director, Angus Thomas, is doing a heck of a job down there, and his team over in heavy equipment, they're absolutely doing the best they can. He's got some very talented folks down there, and I will tell you from talking to Keith through this event, they were able to get these trucks turned around and back into service probably quicker than we have in previous events. So yes, I believe fully in the team that we've got down there.
Yeah, well, we need to celebrate them because I believe they did an excellent job in horrible conditions. So I do celebrate them, and I thank them publicly for their service and also the hours that they have to work. These are people who are on that job almost 24 hours trying to get our city back up to par. Thank you.
Councilmember Andrew Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kind of reiterate what Councilmember Scipio said. There is always going to be room for improvement. We will discuss that as we move forward, but just congratulations and to thank the staff and crew that have kind of from the police department, fire department to the field operations, and I think the DOT was out doing some stuff for things. So just everybody who stepped foot out into the bad weather, we're grateful for the service they did, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, I would like to say that publicly I want to thank staff for going out in the most hazardous, dangerous conditions to work to try to clear our streets and make travel safely for our citizens. A huge thank you. And Deb, is that, okay, there you are. I want to say thank you also for providing us with the updates, and we could share that information with our constituents. You did an outstanding job, your entire department. I like the questions that Councilmember Scipio asked. We really do need to take this as a time to reflect. And Aaron, I thank you because you asked me about any suggestions, and you said you would ask all of the council members. And I think that you probably said this, just touched on it. Daily updates for our citizens, daily updates so that they will know where we have already cleared, what the plan is as far as the area to clear next, just keeping them informed. If there's any way we can have any kind of interactive map to show, put it out there daily. If we have to work with our local TV stations, because a lot of our, especially older adults, get their news and their updates from local news. We need to have something on YouTube daily just to let everybody know with transparency where we are, where we have been, and where we plan to go next. So a huge thank you. But thank you for thinking about areas where we can do better. And if there's nothing else.
Finance at 4.
Okay. That concludes the Public Works meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Earlier, we expected standing room only.